Hello everyone. Today I'm going to take you through a few basic steps to help introduce you to histograms. Histograms can be confusing, but it's actually a pretty simple and helpful tool when you understand what it is and what you're looking at. It's essentially a graph of the tonality that exists in a specific image. And if we take a look at this histogram here as illustrated in Lightroom, we can see that it's broken up into 5 parts. Starting on the left side of the histogram graph, we can see that this area of tonality are the blacks. And if we move slightly to the right, we see it indicating the tonality that is defined as shadows. And in the middle, it's called exposure, really just midtones. And then moving over to the right, we get to the highlights. And finally, on the right, all the way, we see the whites. And this tells us where the tonality in the image lies and how it's kind of spread out. So if we want to edit an image, we can use this histogram to guide us. So we're going to use this image I took of the LA River near Griffith Park, and you can see it's a pretty contrasty image with some very dark areas and some very light areas. And I'm going to use the histogram to help me adjust it so it's less contrasty and that enables me to restore some of the shadow and highlight areas that are getting lost. So remember that we have blacks, shadows, midtones, highlights, and whites. And they correlate to the sliders here you see in Lightroom. Now, a histogram, a healthy one, should never butt up against the side on the left or the right. As illustrated here, you could see that the blacks are almost forming a wall against the left side of the histogram. And this is what's called clipping. And it tells us that a lot of the tonality in the blacks is getting lost. If we turn on this kind of guide here, we can see the blues indicate the black areas that are actually getting lost. If we go to the right side and we kind of clip the whites, and you can see it's the same area, we can see the red illustrate the clipping areas of the whites. So this isn't good because we're really losing a lot of the tonality. So in order to kind of get this a bit more well adjusted, we're going to use the histogram to guide us. I'm going to reset it here. And the histogram in a healthy one should come down and meet in the corners. It's kind of doing that on the left, but we still have a lot of dark areas. So what I would do is I would start with the blacks and I would start to move it over. And you can see it's kind of a more graduated slope. And we've brought back some of the tonality on the hill there in Griffith Park. On the white side, you can see it's clipping a little bit. It may not look like much, but it's actually, we're losing some areas. And so what I would do is take the white slider and I would move it to the left. And now you can see the histogram adjust. And you can see there was quite a bit of tonality in there. Now to further tweak it, I might take the highlights down a bit. And now we're seeing all those whites kind of restored with some tonality in there. And I'm going to open up the shadows, and you can see that hill starts to open up. And if we look now, we see a much kind of more spread out tonality. And the histogram, the slopes, are much more graduated than they were when we started. I'm going to maybe bring back the whites just here so that it tips there. And when I reset it, you'll see what we started with. And look at the histogram, and when I take it to where we ended up, you can see the histogram has more graduated slopes. The tonality is kind of more centered, and the image is much more well adjusted. Now, of course, the final say should be how you want it to look. But using a histogram to guide you to maybe do some initial edits will really get you in the ballpark, and then you can tweak it the way you want. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it makes more sense about what histograms are and how visually they can help you in Lightroom with the sliders, adjust your image, and get you started. So thanks.